Welcome back, everybody, to the Success Partner Podcast. I am your host, Daya Naef, and today in the studio we have Bola Audena. And I've known Bola for a while. We met originally through NABO many years ago, and we kept in touch. And she has some very exciting things about scaling organizations and mindset and change management. And so I'm so excited to have her on the show today. So Bola, just jump in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And if you want to start with maybe a success story to get us kicked off, that would be great.
Yes, such a pleasure, Daya, and thank you for having me. I think we met when I actually first started my business about 5, 6 years ago. So it's been great to remain connected since. So a little bit about myself. I am a business consultant. I work primarily with women in under-resourced businesses, so minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, Black-owned businesses to grow and scale. I specifically am at the intersection of strategy and operations. So what that means is, we get to sit, dream, envision, what could this really turn into? And one of my thing is let's make sure we're building your business as an asset. I think a lot of times we get in and we just start building and we don't really know where we're going. So let's make sure we have an end in mind, right? And that end is we want an amazing asset that we can sell, we can transfer, we can, that can just like your house, that you can do whatever you want with it if you've done a great job of taking care of it. So we definitely dream, and then we think about what a strategy could be to get there. But because I am a computer scientist by background and I have a business degree, I'm always trying to get something executed. So I'm also at the intersection of operations. So how can we put in place the processes, the systems, the roadmap, track how well we're doing as we go to make sure that we are actually working towards the direction that we're trying to get to. So that's the work that I do. Business consulting at the intersection of strategy and operations.
Yeah, I love that. And you mentioned putting like investment into a house, and they say your house is your biggest investment, but if you're a business owner, your business is actually your biggest investment.
For sure, for sure.
For
It
sure.
should be,
Yeah.
right? It
It
has
should be.
it has a
Yes.
potential to be, but I think sometimes if you're not intentional, right? If you're not thinking about that, then it could actually end up being maybe a little bit of a your biggest cost center, right? It could be your biggest expense instead of an asset. So it all depends on what your intention and what your approach is. Yeah.
True, true. You also came up with a great phrase when we were talking earlier. What was it? You can't scale chaos, but so many people do try to scale chaos. Yeah, describe that a little bit for us. You had a great visual with that.
Yeah, I think when we first get started in business, there is an area of expertise that we are absolutely the best in. If you're an attorney, if you are a doctor, a construction, within the construction space, this is your craft. You know it from the beginning to the end. You've worked at it and you have a passion for it. So it's not surprising that you would decide to then start a business and offering that same service to maybe a larger group of people. But what we don't always realize is running a business is its own set of skills, right? Doing business development, sales, marketing, operations, administration, dealing with your clients, all the things that perhaps if you were working within another entity or organization that were just provided. There was an ecosystem that existed before you came, and there was order, there were processes, there were systems, people who did things, and you just got to exist and put on a magic show and do your magic. But then, of course, when you're now running your own business, now you've got to figure out how to do the magic you do with your trade while you're trying to start and run and scale and grow a business. And because we don't always connect the two, we're actually just trying to ignore the fact that you need to organize yourself, put systems together, processes, so that you can create a similar environment for your business to thrive. But what ends up happening is we don't pay that much attention to our business. Things start to get backed up. Processes don't exist. Things are moving in a manual way. Clients are asking for things and we don't know where they are. We're bringing people onto our teams without a set of processes for them to go
Hmm.
into. So it's just a chaotic mess. It's kind of like that closet that exists in our house and we just keep walking past every day, not wanting to even think exists. Um, the problem is when you're running a business, you have to go inside that closet and look to run a business from there. If you can't find anything and nothing is in order, it makes it very difficult for you to be successful. So I tell my clients all the time, you absolutely cannot scale chaos. You really can't. As tempting as it seems, depending on how disciplined we are, some of us, you think it'll all come together once you have enough money, once you have enough people, once you get big enough. But it really doesn't. And even if you do throw money at it, it's sort of like wasting money when you really could organize yourself, put systems, processes, be disciplined. Who do we serve? How do we serve? All the things that we hear about, so that we can have a peaceful environment to run our businesses from.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. I know you have a passion for nonprofits and mission-driven organizations. Tell us what makes those folks unique.
Yeah, I love these organizations because we all have a mission that we are looking to drive and implement either individually, as a family, as a unit, whatever spaces we find ourselves in. There is a mission that exists that we're trying to collectively drive towards. But what makes nonprofits and mission-driven organizations so amazing is they're really coming out and saying this is what we exist to do and it's for the betterment, for the good of others. And when you think about it, really business is for the good of others. It can't just be for your own good, right? You have to exist to really be in service of other people. So why nonprofits are so great is because you're able to really share this passion that you have to see a change and bring about some sort of a difference, and you bring similar folks together to see how you might influence change, which is really what we should all be doing. And I specifically and especially love these types of organizations because a lot of times, while there is that passion, while we want to come together for the greater good, there is an opportunity for me to come in and start to add value right away by thinking about processes, systems, building ecosystems, helping them think about other ways to bring partnerships to the table. I tell clients all the time now that it's not everything that we need to think about from a fundraising perspective. We need money to do this. There's so many ways that you can build ecosystems where people come to the table who want to serve a similar group of people or drive towards a similar end. But maybe they don't have the resources necessarily, but they have the time, they have the passion, they have the people. So you can really build ecosystems um, by collectively sharing a shared mission for folks to work towards. So, yeah.
Uh, so for our leaders listening to this call today, what's one thing they can do in their organization this week to make it more efficient?
One thing you can do to make it more efficient. I think as a leader, one thing we don't talk enough about is, well, depending on how early you are in your business, is really just um, delegating that which you don't need to be doing, right?
Hmm.
And what that does is it actually forces you to stop and think about that you do so well, but maybe it's not the greatest and highest use of your time and
Hmm.
energy. How might you delegate it to someone else on your team? And if that individual does not exist, how might you find a system to help you with it, a process to help you with it, someone else that you can bring onto your team to do it? I would say that's probably the greatest thing you can think about is freeing yourself from the minutia so that you can really allow yourself to dream which is what the job of leaders is. It's our job to really think about what a better tomorrow could look like. What is the vision? Where are we going? How might we get there? How can we cast that vision and then bring others along? Um, the unfortunate thing is we're two heads down in the weeds. We're thinking about how to send this email and pay this person and do all these things that are so important. They are, but maybe there are others that might be able to do that for us. Maybe we can outsource it. Maybe you don't need to learn AI all of a sudden. Maybe you can hire an AI expert, right? Who can do it for you.
Right?
So it's not
Mhm.
necessarily foregoing all the important things that are so necessary to keep the business running, but continuously thinking about extracting yourself from the minutia, so that you can then free yourself to do what will indeed give you that exponential return on investment, which is think.
Yeah. Now, Bola, that sounds like a major mindset shift.
Well, it could be. You know what? I think you're right. It could be right, and I think for some it may be more major than others. So I don't want to um, speak or make any assumptions, but I do think it's important to understand that there are different ways for us to get to the end goal. So let's say we're trying to get to the number 10. It could be 5 plus 5, right? It could be 1 plus 9. It could be 10 plus 0. So if you just think about yourself in that equation, we can always get to the outcome, but there are different ways for us to get there. And literally, you could be the zero. I don't have anything else to offer to this particular solution, but I'm going to identify the people who do and let them do it. And I'll just give them the platform to keep it going. So I think the shift is probably just being more creative in terms of problem solving and not thinking that there's only one way to get there, but
Hmm.
trying to figure out how else might we explore the options ahead of us to get to the same outcome.
I can see where you bring you're a very valuable piece of this combination.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So how do people get in touch with you?
Yes, so I can be reached on LinkedIn. I'm at Bola Audena. My company is MBA Growth Partners, so you can also reach us there. But I'm also on all social media platforms. Bola Audena, that's BOLAAUDENA, or at my company, which is MBA Growth Partners.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. For our listeners out there, this has been another episode of the Success Partner Podcast. I'm your host, Daya Naef. Please like, subscribe, and stay tuned.